Black Ops 6 Season 3 is on the horizon, so to wrap up Season 2, I have for you guys the new top 5 fastest killing weapons with the best classes. With the first weapon being an honorable mention of the C9. So the C9 doesn't actually have the fastest TTK in the game, but it does have a lot of range. It's overall very easy to use, and you have a lot of mobility to where you are going to do very good with it, and I just really needed to slap it onto this list. So this build is going to be a gunfighter build, but if you do want to use it with the 5 attachments, I'll give you guys that variation. Now, I know it looks super criminal to have a sight on the C9, but just trust me, use it. It is so unbelievably satisfying and easy to use to where I just, I kind of recommend it for the gunfighter. For the muzzle, there's not that much vertical. The only thing that this gun has is a lot of side-to-side bounce, so the muzzle really isn't going to help with that, so might as well throw on a suppressor, keeping yourself off the radar, making it easier to build up that streak. Now, the damage range is already pretty good on the weapon, but the bullet velocity isn't that good, so I wanted to go with a balance between the two, so that's why we got the reinforced barrel on there. For the underbarrel, a little bit up to you guys. If you're not the best at the game, maybe you just hit the bong, maybe you're just not feeling good, then you probably want to do the vertical foregrip. It is going to be a whole lot easier to hit your shots, although with the Ranger, the weapon does feel lighter, so you're going to get less dead slide. So if you do like to move around, you're probably going to do better with that Ranger foregrip. And then for the magazine, we just got the extended mag 1, so you don't really have to worry about reloading. In Warzone, I typically will use the extended mag 2 just because, the enemy's got plates. For the rear grip, this is a little bit different. Typically, we do add the ergonomic grip, which is still a very good attachment, but the weapon doesn't have the best ADS speed, so it sometimes feels like it has a slower TTK just because you can't ADS that fast. This is going to bring up the ADS speed, basically maximizing it, making it kind of feel like you have a faster TTK. For the stock, the infiltrator stock, in my opinion, and just statistically, should be the best one. Gives you a lot of strafe speed. You are going to be a very hard target to hit, and just overall, it's going to be easy to hit your shots. And then lastly, like I was saying before, there's a lot of horizontal recoil on the weapon, so the recoil springs are going to be very good to bring that back down. We also do get a little bit of vertical and gun kick control, allowing us to easily use the suppressor on the weapon. Take a screenshot of this class. This C9 gunfighter build, absolutely phenomenal. Now, if you do want to rock the 5 attachments, what I would basically do is just take off the muzzle, the optic, and then the magazine. You could take off the stock and then go ahead and add a magazine, but right here, it's going to be a very, very consistent build. And honestly, I'd probably add like the ergonomic. This is like a build I would be using in rank play and just things like that. It's just a very, very balanced build. Now, for the first gun on this actual list, we got the KRIG C. The KRIG C is the absolute best AR in the game. Not the fastest killing one, but it's so easy to use that a lot of time it feels like, it is the fastest killing one. This build, there's no recoil in the gun. There might be a little bit of recoil, but once you're warmed up, you should be able to hit every shot very, very easily to where you are going to pop off. Again, we do have a gunfighter build. The gun is going to be extra overpowered with gunfighter, but if you do want 5 attachments, I'll show you guys how to, change the class. The barrel, you don't really need the barrel on the gun. The damage range is already pretty good. The bullet velocity is already pretty good, but if you're shooting any enemy across the entire map, it does take a decent amount of shots to hit, and the recoil makes it a little bit tough. So now with the reinforced, it's going to take less shots to kill at those longer distances, and you're not going to really have to lead your shots. For the muzzle, I think that suppressor helps you out a lot more, since like for most of the engagements, the recoil on the weapon isn't going to affect you. It's only at those really far distance ones, so you'll get more consistent value out of that suppressor. The iron sights are horrible, so you got to add the Kepler, and then you got to go over to the reticle, and then we are going to be basically going over here, and we're going to be adding the pink dots. One of the biggest issues in competitive play is the overuse of highly caffeinated energy drinks, and in some other cases, dangerous stimulants. That is why I work with Valvidian to drink Infused Focus to raise and combat this ongoing issue of stimulant abuse in gaming. Infused Focus only uses 80 milligrams of caffeine because they rely on a nootropic blend for efficacy. You don't get those caffeine jitters with their drinks, and you feel like you're in the flow state for hours after drinking it. Use code CBAS for 20% off your next purchase to support the channel and get cracked in game. For the next attachment, we're going over to the underbarrel, and we are going to be adding the Ranger. Again, if you're not that good at the game, you probably want to do the vertical foregrip. It is going to be a whole lot easier to hit your shots, but with this weapon, you're doing so well. You're getting so many just kills that you are bound to be, in the enemy's face sometimes, and this just makes it so you can slide and not get those dead slides, which are so annoying. And then for the magazine, we are going to be adding the extended mag 1, just making so we got about 45 rounds on there, and now we don't really have to worry about reloading. For the rear grip, I really like to use the quick draw grip on my ARs just because it makes it very easy to like snap onto the enemies. If you see 2 targets on your screen, you basically want to shoot at one, un-ADS, re-ADS on the next one. This makes it a whole lot easier to do so. And then for the last attachment, we are going to be going over and adding the balance stock. You guys can see we get a lot of strafing movement speed, hip fire movement speed, and aim walking movement speed. overall making the weapon feel so fluid and nice to use if you have to use it up close. And then lastly, like I was saying, the gun's a little bit bouncy. We're not using a muzzle for the recoil control, so we're going to get a lot of that recoil control from the recoil springs. Right here is going to be a very good gunfighter KRIG C build. Now, for the 5 attachment build, we are basically going to be going over and taking off the suppressor, and we're going to go add the ported compensator. We're going to remove the recoil springs, and then we are going to take off the magazine and the underbarrel. And wait, sorry, we're going to keep the underbarrel on there. We're going to have the Ranger on there with the ported. No barrel, you don't really need that. And so this build right here, you should do a little bit better. Again, you could take off the balance stock and add the extended mag 1. And so usually if you are playing like search and destroy, you can get away with the nice stock, but if you're on like Nuketown, you probably want to take off the stock to have you know, a little bit more ammo on your gun. Next up, this is right here, the KOMPAKT is going to be the fastest killing SMG in the game. It's very difficult to use though. You guys can see there is a lot of recoil, so you got to get used to the weapon. You got to warm up with it, and you got to, like, you know, strafe in the gunfights. But if you are up close, you'll actually win every single gunfight, so that's why we have to have it on the list. So for the barrel, it actually has a very cool attachment. You can have a integrated suppressed barrel. This can increase that ball velocity as well as that damage range, and so we kind of have like a 2-in-1 attachment. We have you know, the suppressor built into the barrel. You could take off the barrel and then go over here and add like the compensator, and yes, the gun's going to be a little bit easier to use, but I just like having range and being off, since you have to be so close to get the kills anyways. For the underbarrel, we are going to be adding the vertical foregrip to add a lot of horizontal recoil control. You guys can see the fire range. There's still a lot of recoil, so this is an absolute must on this gun. You are blowing through ammo pretty fast, and you are gonna have to reload a whole lot, and like mid gunfight you'll have to reload. You don't want that to happen, so we're gonna be using the extended mag 1 just to bring up the ammo size. I was gonna try maybe extended mag 2 and things, but there's just so many cons to where I just really don't think it's worth it. And then for the rear grip, we are gonna use the ergonomic grip to increase that slide to fire speed, that dive to fire speed. And since you are going to be in the enemy's face, you're going to be sliding into those gunfights a lot, going into hip fires and basically every type of engagement. Ergonomics is going to help you out with that. Then lastly, to maximize that recoil control, we are going to be going over and adding the recoil springs. Do not use the 3-on burst. These are horrible. I hope we get some more attachments in the future that, you know, add recoil control maybe when we add the stock. I always thought that was a cool thing. This game feels a little bit bland for the class setups, but right there, very good 5 attachment build. Now, for the gunfighter build, we are going to go over to the stock, and we are going to be adding the no stock, since the gun's good up close. No stock is great if you're in the enemy's face. And we're going to go over to the laser and add the fast motion lasers, so then you're going to be very accurate up close if you do want to hip fire. And honestly, I think the iron sights are fine, but might as well throw in an optic onto there. So now you're going to be off the radar, and it's just going to be a whole lot easier to use. You could then go over to the compensator, take off the laser, and then go over and add like the reinforced barrel. Actually, no, I think you can still keep the laser onto there. And so this is another very good build that you're going to be on the radar, but you're going to have a decent amount of range and ball velocity, but then also less recoil. And there's a little bit of a glitch. I don't know how I did it, but I have the KRIG C with my KOMPAKT on here. I don't really understand how I did that. I'm in a private match right now because on the account I'm on, I just prestige, and so, you know, I don't have access to everything. Next up, this is going to be like the second fastest killing SMG, the KSV. We got the professional build. It was so good it got banned from ranked play, and yes, it doesn't kill as fast as the KOMPAKT, but it's easier to use, so then it feels like it kills faster, and this is what I actually prefer over using that KOMPAKT. So we are going to add that long barrel onto here just because the damage fall off is insane with the weapon, and so we want to maximize you know, the damage range on the weapon. The ball velocity is already 500, and if I'm using an SMG, as long as it's over 500, I am perfectly fine on there. For the muzzle, we are going to be using the compensator, getting that nice vertical recoil control and that gun kick control, making the iron sights even easier to use. Then for the underbarrel, we got to use the Ranger foregrip. Again, you can use the vertical, but once you're warmed up with the weapon, as long as you hit the first shot in the gunfight, you should be perfectly fine with that Ranger foregrip. It also increases that sprinting movement speed, so you just feel more fluid. And then we are using the extended mag 1. You couldn't take off the extended mag and then go over here and add the balance stock. If you guys look at the balance, it's kind of like the one on the KRIG C. It gives us so much mobility to where it's actually very worthwhile to use the balance stock over the magazine. It's just like you're going to be winning every gunfight, so I kind of want extra ammo on there. And then lastly, for the rear grip, we have the ergonomic increase in that slide to fire, the dive to fire, as well as the ADS speed. For the gunfighter build, we're going to go over to the magazine, and we are going to be adding the extendo mag 1, increasing that mag size. Yes, we reload a little bit slower, but now we get the balance stock and everything all together. We're going to go over and actually add an optic. I've been really liking the optic more than the lasers. Like for some reason, it just feels actually amazing on my SMGs, even though I know it's criminal. And then we are going to go over here and add the recoil springs, adding a lot of horizontal, vertical, and gun kick control to the weapon. Take a screenshot of this class. Very easy to use. Feels very nice. You could even add the overpressured rounds. Then you have a lot of bow velocity, but I just would rather have a little bit more recoil control on my weapon. Next up, this is going to be the AS Val. I know a lot of people don't like the AS Val, but we're going over the fastest TTK weapons. Out of all the ARs, this statistically is the fastest killing one. The only thing is there's not that much range and there's a decent amount of recoil, but if you use my build, it's pretty easy to use. Like you know, you should be perfectly fine with the weapon. And then so we're going to be going over to the barrel, and we are going to be adding the suppressed long barrel, increasing that damage range to about 19.1 meters. You're going to get more value out of the long barrel compared to that reinforced, and then it also keeps you off the radar. So that's one big benefit of the AS value. You're up in the enemy's face and no one knows where you're at, but there's a lot of recoil, especially if you want to use that range. So we're going to be using the vertical foregrip, and then we're going to go over to the magazine, add the extended mag 2. You don't really need the extended mag 3. There's so many more cons, and you only get an extra 5 bullets. It should up it to like 60 or something, but then that would be kind of annoying to play against. It's just like a wee bit annoying for the weapon. And then for the rear grip, we are going to be adding the ergonomic grip. Did have the quick draw, but I feel like it's better with the ergo, just because you have to use the gun like an SMG, and so the ergonomic just makes it very easy to use like an SMG, and you're going to win those close range engagements. Then we got the recoil springs, absolute must on this gun. You guys can see the recoil. This is going to remove that recoil. And then if you guys do want the gunfighter build, going to go over to the laser, and we're actually going to be adding these. I hate when it kicks me up, bro. This game is so buggy. We are going to be going over and adding the Strelok laser, increasing that hip fire to ADS accuracy. So then when you basically go to ADS, you're already going to have 100% ADS accuracy, and you can kind of like pre-fire your shots, getting an even faster TTK. And it's kind of nice when you're in those close quarters engagements. And then we're going to go over to the stock. And for the stock, the one that I actually recommend is going to be the balance stock, because you get a decent amount of like strafe speed, hip fire, and then movement speed, so you can walk around a little faster, strafe faster, and it, you know, it just feels pretty balanced on the weapon. And then I believe we can add an optic too. Honestly, I like the iron sights more, but might as well throw on an optic if you like the optic. Next up, the final weapon on this list. This is going to be the second fastest killing AR, which is kind of like really good. It's just kind of bouncy and a little bit slow, but with this build, you guys can see it. The ADS speed's pretty good, and then the strafe speed's very good. And so if you are using like a gun at long range and you want to maximize TTKs, you want to use this gun. Like, this gun kills faster than the KRIG. It's just the KRIG is easy to use. So for the optic, the iron sights are very difficult to use on the AK. So we're going to be using the Kepler. You're going to do better with it. Obviously, you can do just fine with the iron sights, especially if you're used to them, but I just recommend the Kepler. For the muzzle, we are going to be adding the ported making, so the first few shots have literally no recoil. The gun kills in 3 bullets across the map with this build, so you don't really need to fire that many shots. Therefore, the ported is going to be a little bit better. Then for the barrel, we got the long barrel, maximizing that damage range, bring up to 53.3 meters. Keep in mind, the biggest gunfight you're probably going to be in is around like 45 meters, but now no matter what, you can get that 3-shot kill as long as you mix in some headshots. Like, this thing is crazy. Then for the underbarrel, we are going to be adding the Ranger foregrip, increasing that horizontal recoil control, eliminating that side-to-side bounce. Again, if you're not that good, you're going to want to use the vertical. But for me, I would say I'm pretty good. When I get warmed up, the Ranger foregrip is going to work better for me. Then for the magazine, we got the Extendo Mag 1, increasing that mag size. And so now we don't really have to worry about reloading. The fast mag, also a very good option, because the gun doesn't have that fast of a fire rate. Sometimes you will get more value out of the fast mag, because it sucks when you die because you're reloading. The ADS speed is unbelievably slow. So we got the quick draw grip on there, making the weapon feel very, very snappy. And then for the stock, I love the infiltrator. Again, like I was saying before, it just makes you a hard target to hit, easier to activate the rotational aim assist. Definitely use the infiltrator stock. And then since the gun's bolt velocity isn't that good, since we're using the long barrel instead of the reinforced, we're going to use the overpressured, increasing that bolt velocity to 870 meters per second. So now we have hit scan up to about 40-45 meters, and just, you know, you don't need to really lead your shots. And so right here, very, very good gunfighter AK. Now, if you do want to use the 5 attachment build, I recommend taking off the optic. I'm going to go over here, add the reinforced barrel, take off the overpressured rounds, and then we're going to take off the magazine, and then we're going to add the vertical foregrip. And so this right here is going to be a little bit easier to use, and since we're not using an optic, you do need a little bit more recoil control. But with all that said, that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys did find it helpful, make sure you leave a comment vouching for it, leave a like, and enjoy the builds. Deuces.